It's now 5 o'clock. I will call the meeting of the Waxahachie Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that all 7 trustees are in attendance, and this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. At this time, we're going to go into closed session according to Section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 p.m. Okay, it is now 5:56. We're going to reconvene into open session. At this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Melissa Starlater to lead us in our invocation, followed by our pledges, which will be given by Landry and Kinley Bragg, kindergartners at Clift Elementary, and Farida Matter, which is a fifth grader at Clift Elementary. Starlater.
Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and ask for your assistance and provisions in helping us make good decisions for our school district. And please help all of us within WISD carry out the very most important work of taking care of our children. We ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Get your picture.
That's awesome.
Good job, y'all. Ms. Timmerman, you're up.
Our vision is to be a district where innovation thrives and growth is
Yeah.
We value choices because they make us unique and are critical to learning.
We value a collaborative culture that honors and supports all who positively impact the lives of our students.
We value an environment of belonging that respects individual differences and ensures equality for all.
We value relationships that broaden learning experiences and enrich our community.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go out of order on our agenda. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. We're going to skip recognitions for the moment and go to the open forum. This time, we do not have anyone signed up to speak, so we are going to move to item 6A under reports, which would be our superintendent's report. Dr. Hollingsworth?
Thank you, Mr. President. Stephen, can you advance me without having to, can we advance to the superintendent's report? There's a lot of slides in that recognitions area. I do know. Do what? It's not working? No, I can just go there. Let me just, give me a sec. It's going to take a minute. There's open forum, information reports. Here we go. All right. Thank you, Mr. President. To end up the month of January 31st, our enrollment is at 10,850, and our average daily attendance was at 10,040, which is still below where we want to be, but trending back in the right direction. We're very happy to see that that blue line begin to rise again, so maybe that's a good sign of where we're headed. I will point out 10,850. We are about, since I arrived in August of 21, in 18 months, we're up about 1,000 kids since my arrival, which is just amazing to me, but excuse me. I have shared with y'all several of the slides that we have included as part of our presentations to our staff and to the community. One of the main ones that we've really pointed out has been the sheer size of our school district. We are 191.6 square miles. One of the things that I like about this particular slide is it really points out two really important things that I have learned really is news to a lot of our patrons out in the community. The first is that the district and the city of Waxahachie are two very different things. The city of Waxahachie is 51 square miles versus the district's almost 200 square miles. And you can see that the city really is in the top right-hand quadrant of our district. The other thing that I think is really interesting about this particular map is that the yellow star is the location of the 174 acres that the board had the good planning and foresight to purchase for the purpose of building Comprehensive High School number 2 and Junior High number 4. That location, which I thought was really interesting when Mr. Calden did the measurement from north to south, it is exactly in the center of the district, going from our northernmost point up by Red Oak to our southernmost point down by Italy. It's exactly at the halfway point north to south. So I thought that was really, really interesting. Also speaks to the volume and the size of our district. This is another slide that I've shared with our folks on a routine basis as we've gone out. And I completed today the 16th of 16 campus presentations. And this is another way to look at that 17,000 plus student plan. And it gives a real strong indication to our community of what the Long Range Planning Committee's vision is for our growth in our district. Currently, we have 3 junior high schools. At the end of our 17,000 student plan, we'll have 4. Now, I'll point out that 4th junior high is not in phase 1, so it will not be addressed in this particular bond, but it will be in phase 2 of our 17,000 student plan. And what you'll end up with is you'll end up with 2 junior highs feeding 1 comprehensive high school, 2 junior highs feeding another comprehensive high school, and then Global High School will remain as part of our solution for handling the growth of our district long term. An interesting thing is that if you look at a 3,200 student high school, which is what we have, then on average you're going to have 800 students per grade level. And so that means you'll have 400 students coming from one junior high, 400 students coming from the other junior high, your 8th grade classes coming in to make that freshman class. Now, these are maximum numbers. So at a max, you'll get 400 8th graders from one, 400 8th graders from the other, which gives you the size of your junior highs at a max. You have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So at a maximum, you'll have 1,200 students at each of your 4 junior highs. The last thing I'll point out about this one that I've shared with folks, it really can give the community an indication of where we're going long term. So when we need 5 junior highs, which will be about probably your early 30s, early to mid 30s, we'll need a 5th junior high. You'll still be able to serve those 5 junior highs with 2 comprehensive high schools. But the time will come in the late 30s and into the early 40s, our demographic data tells us that you'll need a 6th junior high school. And when you need a 6th junior high school, guess what? You will need comprehensive high school number 3. And that's really what our data shows us as we move forward. This last thing I want to share with you is another really highly impactful slide that I've shared with our staff. And it's our estimate on how we believe that today's bond that we will potentially call, given the board's vote, that it will impact the interest and sinking tax rate by 3 pennies. Currently, and just for a quick overview, in Texas school finance, there's 2 tax rates. There's the maintenance and operations tax rate, and there's the interest and sinking tax rate. The interest and sinking tax rate, as y'all know on the board, only impacts, is only impacted by bonds. It pays for debt on bonds, debt on buildings that we've built. Our current interest and sinking tax rate is 38 cents out of a maximum of 50 cents. And so we believe our best estimate is that it would raise that tax rate by 3 pennies. And you see the impact on an average home of $326,000 in Waxahachie ISD. It would have an impact of $67 per year or $5.61 per month. The last thing I wanted to share with y'all is I wanted Mr. Calden to tell you how it is that that slide that you just looked at is developed.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, Board. Ms. Kriegel, at the last workshop that we had, you were asking questions about if we had looked at specifically whether or not we could do the $20 million for the athletic renovations and keep that tax rate the same at the 3%. So just kind of wanted to walk through what our assumptions are. Generically speaking, we're assuming a 5% interest rate on the bonds that we'd be issuing. Right now, market rates about 4%, a little bit above or a little bit below, depending on who is putting bonds out at the moment and the saturation level. So 5% is conservative. We have a whole 100 basis points in which to work on the maturity of those bonds, so the interest rate on those bonds. We're also looking at about 5 years of net taxable value growth at about 12.5% annual growth. To put that in perspective, this past year we did grow net taxable value 25%. When you average that in with the previous 5 years, so a 6-year average would be annual growth of 13.41%. All that to say that 12.5% growth is really about where we've been for about the last 5 or 6 years. We've had a couple of years above it and a couple of years below it, but all generally right in that same area. Also, our expectations or assumptions include the issuance of these bonds over 3 different tranches. So it would not be all $600 million up front. It would be spaced out in accordance with the projects. And then our current estimate, again, is 3 cents of an increase on the INS rate, which, as Dr. Hollingsworth said, is 38.39, and so that 3 cents would be 41.39 would be the proposed INS rate going forward.
Y'all have any questions for Mr. Calden about that piece? Thank you, Ryan. That concludes the superintendent's report, Mr. President.
Okay. Now we're going to go back to our recognitions. Ms. Bridges, I believe we have several of those tonight. Am I correct?
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. Yes, we do have several recognitions this evening.
He's got it.
He's got it. Excellent. Well, first, I'd like to invite Sean Cagle and Erica Wilcox to come up.
Good evening, Board, Mr. President, Dr. Hollingsworth. Thank you so much for the opportunity to recognize some of our wonderful students. We have a very unique young lady here who had a very rare accomplishment that our Director of Charmers will expound upon. Ms. Wilcox.
Good evening. Hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. Again, I'm Erica Wilcox, and I want to take a moment to brag on our 60th line captain, Ms. Keziah Hanna. Keziah traveled with me in January to Houston for the Texas Dance Educators Association Convention. She was one of 280 all-state dancers that attended this event, and she was one of 5 recipients to receive a scholarship. The scholarship she received was the Texas Dance Educators Association Founder Scholarship to further her education in college in dance or theater. And standing by me, I have Ms. Keziah Hanna. And again, she was one of 5 in the state of Texas.
Amazing. All right, we are going to skip the next one, and we will come back to it. Next, I would like to invite Ms. Tanisha Malone to come up.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. I am thrilled to share our Clift Hero Award tonight. Here are a few things that our staff has stated about this individual. She is such a hard and dedicated worker. I love that she is a part of our team. She is Johnny on the spot with any technical difficulties we may have, always willing to help with a smile. She goes above and beyond to support staff and students. She has done an excellent job in reviving our chicken coop and gardens. Not only does she work in our gardens, she also runs CNN TV News, our morning announcements. She is student-oriented as she has created fun and exciting lessons via computer classes, innovation time, and she has also created several opportunities for students to be a part of our school family, such as chicken coop coordinators and CNN TV News anchors. This lovely lady has worked tirelessly to ensure our campus is top-notch. She is a perfect example of a true humble servant and a Clift hero. Without a doubt, Ms. Donna Ritchie deserves to be honored tonight. Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. I am thrilled. We fixed it so you can touch them. Thank you. I love that. Okay, so I'm excited and thrilled for the opportunity to highlight some amazing things about Clift Elementary. At Clift, we value choices because they make us unique and are critical to learning. This year, we have provided our students with choice via innovation time. While our teachers participate in an hour of PLC planning time, our students are given the opportunity to participate in an innovation club based on their interests. Each 6 weeks, students choose a new club such as sign language, 3D Lego building, Cliff Garden Club, Things with Wings, where students learn lots about butterflies and bumblebees, and Chicken Land Experience, where our students have explored and cared for chickens. Our innovation time has given an opportunity for all students to participate in extracurricular activities during school hours without the worry about transportation or permission slips. Let's take a look at what our Clift scholars have accomplished. As noted in the video, Innovation Club sparked a deeper student interest in reviving our Cliff Garden and Butterfly Gardens, as during COVID, our gardens became dormant. We now have chicken coop coordinators, our 5th graders, that tend to our chickens and gardens, and thanks to Donna Ritchie, our computer tech teacher and Cliff hero, she has been phenomenal in working with staff, our resident, and community to spearhead the reopening of our gardens. This also has led into fostering new community relationships thanks to Donaldson Wellness Center, HEB, Lowe's, Home Depot, and so many more donors in making this a success. Our new name for the coop is the Chicken Nugget Hut, and the chickens are the rooster, Mr. Chicken Nugget, and we also have 2 hens, Oreo and Little Frosty. The kids named them, by the way. Little Frosty is now laying Tiffany blue eggs, and the kids just think it's fancy and they love it. As you can see at Clift, we value relationships that broaden learning experiences and enrich our community. One final highlight that we are super proud of is a new tradition we have brought to Clift, our annual turkey trot. We partnered with Camden Park community to collect canned goods to donate to Waxahachie Care. Prior to the trot, we ran the neighborhood, left flyers, talked to families, and they were so excited to participate and support. WHS high school helpers and several Cliff parents helped chaperone the trot as well. 10 students that displayed leadership behavior amongst 3rd through 5th grade were selected to be our canned good picker-uppers. They ran up to doors and helped load at the Pilgrim's truck, which was our school counselor, and also the other 3rd through 5th graders trotted the neighborhood with their race tags. We wanted to teach our kids that it's important to give back to the community, as they are always pouring into us, and while doing it, we can have fun too. We were able to donate over 2,000 canned goods to Waxahachie Care, and we had a blast. At Clift, we continue to work collaboratively to be a campus where innovation thrives and growth is limitless. Thank you for your time.
Dr. H really loves that Chicken Land experience. Board, next I'd like to invite Normel Gilliam to come up.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Hollingsworth. Turner would like to take a moment to recognize a special person, Miss Roxana Tialdo. Few people possess the considerate, unselfish, loving heart that she has, and even fewer are willing to give so much of themselves. Thank you all. Thank you for all that you do, not only for our students, but also your peers around you. Your dedication to Turner and our pre-K scholars do not go unnoticed. Turner would like to thank you for your kindness, hard work, and being the wonderful, amazing person that you are. Turner Pre-K Academy is not just a place where students come to learn their numbers and their alphabet. Pre-K is about fostering engagement, exploration, learning how to do school, and of course, academics. This year has been filled with learning and exploration in several ways. We had the opportunity to take our second field trip this year to Mainstay Farms, where they explored life cycles, farm animals, and nature. We celebrated Labor Day with our very first annual Red, White, and Blue Parade. Then we moved on to our fall festival and ended out the 2022 year with a visit from Santa. This year, we also created a STEAM class where students engage in several different experiments and experiences. Our teachers are currently working towards their National Institute for STEM Education certificate and are on track to be completed by December 2023. We will finish out the school year with learning about different forms of transportation. Students and parents had the opportunity to create a child-sized vehicle of their choice, and students will be able to show off their creativity in a school-wide parade, which we will also bring to the STEAM Expo this Saturday. We will be having different forms of transportation provided by the community on our Transportation Day coming up in March. We can't wait for our butterflies to arrive so we can witness the life cycle of a butterfly. We are excited to have all of our students come together as we close out the school year with Field Day and, of course, our ABC Countdown. Turner Pre-K is truly a place where innovation thrives and growth is limitless for our youngest WISD scholars. Rather you hear me talk, let me show you a video. Thank you.
Board, next I'd like to invite Kim Bridgers to come up.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. Child Nutrition is recognizing Maria Diaz for her outstanding leadership. Maria has all the qualities we look for in a leader. She prioritizes students' nutritional needs, is very creative and collaborative. She's passionate with a purpose. She has unquestionable integrity, leads by example, provides limitless support for our team success. Maria is respectful and just, loves to celebrate our schools and students, and stays up to date on healthy trends. Volunteers without hesitation, excels in her job performance, and respects and admires the WISD team. Besides having excellent qualities, Maria is responsible for designing our school menus, creates recipes for students' nutritional needs, nurtures creativity at the campus level, provides catering for district events, and maintains compliance with the district and TDA. Maria is a big contributor to our department's success. Please help me congratulate Maria Diaz. So while we're celebrating, I'd like to discuss some of our highlights and some fun facts. So with an estimated enrollment of 11,000, 49.88% are on our free and reduced program. And currently, we've served 584,000 plus lunches, 236,000 plus breakfasts, and of that breakfast count, 16,350 belong to our second chance breakfast students. These are our students who come to school at a 0-hour class before breakfast service starts. So currently, we're feeding 52% of our students at lunch every day and 15% at breakfast. So now I'm going to give you a few fun facts. There's 100 nutrition team members. 49 of those members have kids that attend WISD. That's pretty incredible. Those ladies are vested, some men too, excuse me. And here's some of the amazing amounts of products that we have made year to date. So we have cooked 472,000 plus chicken nuggets. Nothing, Cliff, not your. 93,000 plus slices of pizza, 75,000 plus hamburgers and cheeseburgers, 58,000 plus orders of nachos, 26,000 plus chef salads, over 5,000 orders of hot wings at the high school alone, and 621,000 plus cartons of milk. Those are pretty incredible numbers, and those are just a fraction of what we've served year to date. So anyway, I thought you might look at those numbers and think, wow, that's some pretty big numbers. So anybody have any questions or anything? All right, thank you all.
Next, I'll ask Ms. Ashley Treat to come up.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. I'm excited to recognize two of our career and technical education teachers tonight. WIC has 51 CTE teachers in the district between our 3 junior highs, Global High School, and Waxahachie High School. And tonight I get to honor 2 of those teachers, the first of which is Miss Robin Woodley. Robin teaches I'm going to use these, hold on. Robin teaches investigating careers, technical applications, and college and career readiness at Coleman Junior High. Ms. Woodley builds strong relationships with her students. She makes learning fun by finding unique ways to address learning objectives, and she's created a classroom expectation to continue building on what each student has already learned. For 25 years in education, Mrs. Woodley has served in Waxahachie ISD for the past 4 years. She helps lead the Coleman Junior High Career Day. She helps serve her fellow junior high CTE teachers by offering everything she has to them, and she is ready and willing to keep learning to offer her students limitless opportunities. Please join me in recognizing Coleman Junior High's Mrs. Woodley. Next, we have Mr. Smiley. Mr. Smiley joined our team as the construction teacher for Waxahachie ISD last year. Mr. Smiley has served in various positions in education and has served 20 years in education. Most recently, Mr. Smiley led the charge in organizing the DFW Construction Showcase for our students and the students of 4 other high schools at the Ellis County Expo Center. Mr. Smiley recognizes the importance of industry partnerships and building a school-to-work pipeline for our students and our community. Smiley is not a suitable name for most, but I can tell you from the 2 years working with Mr. Smiley, it is a perfect name for him. He finds the positive in any situation and works hard for his students and colleagues. Please join me in recognizing Waxahachie High School's Mr. Michael Smiley. Tonight I get to give you a quick highlight and update on CTE. February is National CTE Month, and we're celebrating by highlighting the students and teachers of WISD on social media. This year, over 5,100 seats are filled in our CTE programs between the junior highs and the high schools. We have 21 programs of study, 88 CTE courses, 51 CTE teachers, and 354 junior high students, 387 global students, and 2,536 WHS students. Yep. CTE moves and grows with the workforce needs and trends, and I'm excited to announce that this spring, students have had the opportunity to complete enrollment for next year in 2 new programs at WHS and a new STEM course at the junior highs. The new Exercise Science and Wellness program of study at WHS will allow students to learn more about sports medicine, kinesiology, and athletic training. This program is possible because of the partnership between our CTE health science teachers and the WISD athletic training staff. In addition to taking the courses in exercise science and wellness, students will have the opportunity to work hands-on under the guidance of E.J. Hairston and the WISD athletic training staff. I didn't know you were going to be here, but I just want to say thank you for your hard work in that. I didn't know you were going to. Well, there you go. I was excited when I saw you walk in. Also, our current 8th grade students are in the process of registering for high school courses, and they are going to be the first WISD class who will have the opportunity to complete a licensure in barbering while enrolled at WISD. So that first class that they take in that program, they take as a sophomore, so that's when they'll start. So I guess that means we'll start in 25, 26 with those first classes, but this is our first class that we'll get to do that. And then next year, our 7th and 8th graders at all of our junior high campuses will have the opportunity to bridge the STEM education gap between our elementary campuses and our high school programs by enrolling in Project Lead the Way Gateway courses. This is an introductory course, and next year will be offered to 7th and 8th grade students. This course will include design and modeling and app creation next year, and in 24-25, the 8th grade course will shift to medical detectives and space and flight. Some other 22-23 highlights include this year, with the help of the Education Foundation in collaboration with the elementary school campuses, CTE sent all Waxahachie ISD 4th graders to Kidzania in Frisco. When students arrive at Kidzania, they are given their starting money, known as Kidzos, and some ground rules. From that point, the students have the freedom to make their own choices. They have the opportunity to earn a bachelor's degree at SMU, experience different career opportunities such as firefighting, medical professions, banking, podcasting, piloting, cosmetology, and more. By interacting in career opportunities, students can earn money and, of course, are given the opportunity to spend that money along the way. Our 4th grade teachers and administrators have rave reviews of the day, and we've loved watching their students explore. We look forward to more career education opportunities moving forward. I'm going to let this one play out because the last clip is my favorite. I think we're close. This next one, you get to see the boy in front of the bank waving his cash around, just waiting to go deposit, and it just makes me laugh. We also want to highlight our community partnerships. After spring break, we're going to host our 3rd Industry Leadership Council meeting this year. We've got about 40 members who have joined us in that effort. Also, the DFW Construction Showcase at the Expo Center that Mr. Smiley led the charge on. We had several of our community partners, including Amber Electrical, the Texas Masonry Council, and more. Students learned skills in that from masonry, carpentry, electrical, and plumbing. And then our welding showcase, our welding teachers coordinated a showcase at TSTC Red Oak. Schools from around the state attended that competition, and this competition was made possible through partnerships with Americase, Panther City Industrial, Harris, Bowler Welding, O'Neill Steel, and TSTC Red Oak. And the slide says 85 students. I have been corrected that it was well over 100 students. So they did amazing things there as well. We do have some upcoming events and some other highlights that we have for our career and technical student organizations. Our Arts AV program, under the leadership of David Moore at WHS, is making their first full-length movie this year. They're going to showcase that at the Texas Theater after it opens. They've also started a podcast and game shows and all kinds of great things. And I've heard Dr. Hollingsworth is going to be on a game show either coming up or was just recently. It's coming up, so you guys get ready for that. We've also had a blood drive at the high schools, and of course our barbecue students have competed across the state and have qualified for the state barbecue competition. We're in the midst of competition season in CTE, so everybody's traveling across the state right now, and some of our upcoming events include Skills USA competition in Waco this weekend. Students from cosmetology, welding, construction, and culinary arts will compete. This past weekend, the law enforcement students competed in a variety of law enforcement competitions, taking home a gold, a silver, and 3 bronze medals. The state competition will be held in April in Allen, Texas. And our TSA students have officially started the regional competition last week with early events and will compete this week at Vanguard High School in Mesquite. And last but not least, the students of FFA have only just started their stock show season. We've competed in jackpot shows through the fall and the spring and have competed in the Fort Worth, San Angelo, and now at the San Antonio Stock Show. Some of our students will also take the opportunity to attend the Houston and Austin stock shows in the coming months. We would especially like to offer our thanks to our community leaders, our superintendent, Dr. Jerry Hollingsworth, and our board members who support the FFA in their chapter show and the upcoming events as well. We look forward to the Ellis County Youth Stock Show in March, and we hope to see you there. Thank you for your time.
I am going to scroll backwards because I have Josh Oliver here to make a special recognition.
Thank you. Right before Christmas break and within the first 2 weeks of January, we received multiple threats to the safety of some of our campuses here at Waxahachie ISD. And whenever we receive a threat, we take each and every one of those seriously. And because we take them seriously, every threat we receive sets off a chain reaction that involves several different teams of people from several different organizations and different divisions within those organizations. And tonight we want to recognize the work of some of those teams. When we get a threat, we begin putting puzzle pieces together. And this isn't an exact science, and we're working with about 10,800 puzzle pieces when we do this. They're scattered about, and we have to work together to see which pieces fit together and gives us a picture of a suspect. Finding the right combination of puzzle pieces takes creative thinking, vast knowledge, and sometimes calling mega corporations to tell system engineers how to do their jobs. And the man behind that is Joe O'Daniel and his team from Waxahachie ISD IT. Joe, if you can come up here. You don't get to just sit there. I was outside with some detectives, and they said, if we're getting recognized, we need to make sure that Joe's being recognized too. Joe O'Daniel and his team are puzzle masters, and when we receive a threat, this team works around the clock to make sure our students are safe. I joked that when we were facing one of these threats, I didn't have to set my alarm in the morning because Joe would be calling me in the early morning hours, even on a Sunday, to say, "Good morning, Lieutenant. I was looking at some things and I found something interesting." He would also say things like, "I've called the people at the phone company or the internet company and I haven't heard anything back from them." And I would reply, "That's because they're all asleep, Joe." But Joe and his team know just where to look and just what to look for in order to give law enforcement exactly what they need to track down the people who make these threats against our children. They do an outstanding job every time without delay, and tonight we recognize Joe and his team for their efforts. If Corporal Turner and Detective Starkey are back there, they're hiding around the corner. Come stand up here. When the IT team gets a pretty good picture of our suspect, the work is then turned over to the Waxahachie Police Department. And tonight we recognize Corporal Jill Turner and Detective Austin Starkey. Being a detective is not like what you see on TV. These detectives don't get to work on one case at a time, and instead they juggle about 30 at one time. They're calling victims, they're calling witnesses, scouring the area for video camera footage, and it's an endless stream of cases that as soon as one is closed, another case just moves right into that spot. Sometimes our detectives feel as though they're just treading water, but when we call from the school and say somebody threatened one of our campuses, these detectives drop everything they're doing and give us 100% of their attention. Working right alongside Joe, they work up search warrants and get them signed up by a judge, and they call in potential suspect. And they're the ones who sit in a room across from the individual and get to see the human side of this person. Back here at the school district, removed from this individual who sent those threats, we can easily say, yes, press charges on this person, but these detectives sit in a room with troubled kids who have made grave mistakes and connect with them, and then take their fingerprints as they're processed. Part of what makes me proud of these two is I know the heart that they have, and despite how callous they could be, they see the broken human being sitting across from them, and they have compassion and respect. This makes me proud to call them both partners. And with their hard work, we were able to identify and to take into custody 2 individuals and ensure that they would not be able to carry out the threats that they made to our children. And because of their work for the school district, we recognize them tonight. Come on in.
It's on the spot, huh?
Yeah, everybody, come on in, guys. You can see all the people up here really love the limelight, don't they? Finally, while the detectives are working the case, I make a phone call to Belvis Nolan and make him aware of the threat. At that point, he starts mobilizing individuals to come help make sure that every student is safe on that campus that received the threat. These security guys take on the colossal task of checking every one of the bags and every student that steps foot in WHS. And when you think of checking close to 3,000 students, that's a monumental task. We do this so we can be certain there's not a weapon at our school. And because without checking every single student, we wouldn't be able to guarantee the safety of every individual there. But because of the work of this security team, we can guarantee that safety. Not only are they effective and efficient, they continue to adapt and get better and better at what they do. They make sure that there are no students waiting unattended and exposed outside. They work quickly to make sure that we impose as little as possible on the school day and the education of the students. They work professionally and courteously despite the grumbles and complaints that they might sometimes get from students and sometimes even their parents online that might not appreciate everything that these officers are doing. But we know the reason why they're working, and we appreciate the work that they do. Because they're on the front lines keeping our kids safe, tonight we recognize the exceptional job of the WISD security team. Just stand up front, Ms. Kruger. Good at that.
Mr. Schofield, it's not going to work for you to stand behind Melvin. Thank you, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth.
was right. There. He's coming in.
Okay, next item on our agenda would be on our report, section B, discussion of district-wide intruder detection audit report findings.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. President,
Abishad?
Board, Dr. Collinsworth. The Texas School Safety Center has been going throughout the state, to every district in the state, doing intruder detection audits. And throughout the state, at every single campus they go to, the auditor tries to get into the building via the exterior, and that is the statewide audit process. Then inside school districts where there's an expectation or a policy or a practice or a guideline, which we have, that requires interior classroom doors to be locked, they check those too. That's not a state law requirement, but that is something that if by local policy or local practice is required, then the auditors will check that as well and then make a report that needs to be presented to the Board of Trustees. Prior to the posting of our agenda for this month's meeting, the School Safety Center had been to 8 of our campuses, and at all 8 of the campuses, the exterior of the campuses was sufficient to keep the intruder out. At one of those 8 campuses, there was an interior classroom door that was unlocked at the time the auditor was present. He made a finding, and thus we had to bring that to our district crisis management team to discuss and come up with a corrective action plan, which all that was required then is training of the staff at that campus. That training was performed on Thursday, February 9th, and so we are in full compliance with the law and full fidelity to the practice of keeping all of our campuses as safe as possible. We're appreciative of the partnership we have with the School Safety Center. Since the time of the posting of our agenda, they've been to 3 more of our campuses, and we'll have a follow-up report for you regarding that inspection at next month's meeting.
Okay, item C, informational report on ESSER 3 update. Mr. Collins?
Thank you, Mr. President. Board, tonight we're giving you the semi-annual ESSER 3 update. You may remember I was up here in August talking about ESSER 3 at that point. We also had a survey open for feedback. We did not get any responses during that survey period, so we generally are keeping with the same ESSER plan that we've had previously, with a couple of minor modifications that you heard about in the fall, specifically related to House Bill 4545 tutoring. As a reminder, our plan is on the left on this screen, and so we plan to address student learning loss with about $4.2 million of our $8.9 million in funds received, student mental health with about $600,000 of funds, staff retention with $1.6 million, and technology expansion at about $2.5 million. Through December 31st of 2022, we've spent approximately 56.7% of our funds, or $5 million of the $8.9 million. Of that, we've spent approximately half of it on student learning loss of our half of our original plan. So $2 million out of 4.2 on student learning loss, about half of our original plan on student mental health, or $300,000 on mental health. Our staff retention, that was a one-time $1,000 retention incentive for all of our staff returning from the 2020-2021 school year. That has been paid out at this point. In addition to staff retention, we've also increased substitute compensation after so many jobs that they've performed within the same month. And so that number is going to grow a little bit, but the bulk majority of that has been paid out at this point. And then technology expansion, we've spent approximately $1.4 million of the $2.5 million planned for technology expansion. And so with that, that is our semi-annual ESSER 3 update, and I will be back most likely in August to give you another semi-annual update.
Anything further from Mr. Collins?
Mr. Condon, does everything have to be spent before September of this year, or is it 24?
It's next year of '24.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, our next item will be item D, informational demographic update report.
Mr. President, I'm going to introduce Trent Smith from Zonda Education. He's going to give us our fourth quarter 2022 demographic update report.
President Autry, members of the board, Dr. Hollingsworth, thanks for having me tonight. I am going to go through the fourth quarter report and start off a little bit about the economy, a little bit of housing data, and then we'll get into the projections. And so a little bit about, unemployment continues to drop, although if you are to read into the current status of the unemployment line, one of the major factors is, yes, we're down into those low numbers, yet every store you go into has a help wanted sign. But what we do have is we have a tremendous amount of people who decided just to not go out and look for a job anymore. And so we do have a tremendous amount of people who have this idea of the great resignation is actually true to form. And so this number is a little bit deceiving, while it does paint a really pretty picture. I don't know that it truly shows you where we're at unemployment-wise, as there are so many that have just decided to take themselves out of the employment mix. And so that's an interesting thing that's happened since COVID, and we still haven't really been able to kind of overcome that in the employment market right now. One of the things that has happened throughout throughout COVID and then now afterwards, a couple of major things have happened in the housing industry, and one of the unique things that happened during COVID was the housing market thrived, and that was something that probably no economist would have ever imagined would have happened, but that's exactly what did happen. And so it thrived to the point, though, that when after COVID really took in its roots into the supply chain and started causing a lot of issues, we suddenly had a lot of housing starts because the demand was so high, but yet we weren't able to finish those homes in the same amount of time that we were previous to that. So, for example, a production model home builder might be able to finish a home in 4 to 5 months previous to the pandemic, and we're able to do that a little ways into that. But then after that, when the supply chain started having problems, that same home was taking about 9 to 12 months. And so we had this gap starting where, and you can kind of start seeing where that happened in the fourth quarter of 2020. We had this, so these two lines represent starts and closes throughout the DFW market over that, about a 10-year time period. And so when you look at that gap that starts happening, and then early in 2021, it really got bigger and bigger as that supply chain got tighter and tighter. And so then we had those starts start to level off, and we have a little bit, those closes are starting to catch up a little bit, but you can see that gap where we've got, and then on top of that, interest rates went up, and so it dramatically changed the face of the market. And so those two things combined have really slowed down the housing market in DFW. But what I want to tell you is it's not slowed it down to the point where we're in decline. We're still far from decline. We're just not going up at the same rate that we were previous. And so you can see where we've kind of got back to a better spot, actually, with about 45,000 homes, 46,000 homes. We're kind of at that, back to a leveling off of that starts and closes. And so as we move forward, we're going to see that line kind of flatten out over the next few months. A lot of that dictated by those interest rates, but we are going to stay in a healthy range. We're not going to start seeing a tremendous decline in the housing market all across the DFW market because there's just too much demand, and the DFW market is so insulated because of the diversity of the market. Companies and people are still moving to the area in great numbers, as I'm sure you've seen. And that has affected the multifamily market as well. And you can see the effective rent rate has slowed down a little bit, starting to see some incentives that we haven't seen in a long time, like first month's rent paid or free move-in, all those kinds of things. You start seeing a little bit of those again as the occupancy rate has declined a little bit in recent times. Now you're also going to see, so this is a look at the housing market inside Waxahachie ISD specifically, this is not just new homes, but is also existing homes in the market. And you can see we saw quite a dramatic slowdown in 2022. So we had about 2,300 homes sold in 2021. In 2022, only about 1,700, a little under 1,700 homes sold. And so in that time period, that has, taking into those factors we just talked about, has dramatically slowed down those home sales, as we've still had a lot of home starts, but we haven't had those home sales follow quite as fast along with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about more about that in a couple of slides. But the housing market, as far as existing homes and average new home prices, have continued to rise, and those values continue to increase. You can see if you go back to 2010, a new home was around $156,000, and as we just saw a few minutes ago, the average home price now is up over $360,000. The average new home price is about $390,000, and average existing home price right now about $355,000. And so that's a considerable difference from $145,000 just 12 short years ago. And so that change has been pretty dramatic. When you look at 32% increase, 96,000 just since 2019, and so 91,000 at the existing home market in that same time period. So almost $100,000 difference just in the last 3 years. And so where has Waxahachie been in comparison to some of the other districts across DFW? You can see that you guys are number 18 out of about 80 different school districts across the DFW market. Right now, and this is by annual closings, so you're at 1,049 annual closings. The number I do want you to pay attention to on this particular slide is the annual starts. And we have seen a considerable drop in the start rates here in Waxahachie, and I actually, as we'll talk about later on, I actually made an adjustment to the enrollment for next year because you had kind of a little bit of a perfect storm. You had a slowdown because of the interest rates, but you also had your highest paced subdivisions also ran out of lots. And so that combination has really slowed some things down. You do have a lot of lots, in production right now. So you have a lot of dirt moving, a lot of things getting ready to get back to a higher rate. But because of the timing, those houses are probably not going to be finished in time for the beginning of school next year. And so they're not going to, it's going to be a little bit delayed in when you see the students come out of those homes. And so you still do have 23,000 futures remaining. And 1,400 VDL or vacant developed lots. So that's a lot that is ready to build on today. It's got streets, utilities, everything's ready to go. And you have about 285 homes in inventory. So it's under construction, vacant, finished vacant homes, and your model homes. And when we look at overall what went through in 2022, you did have the most home closes that the district has ever seen at 1,049. But you did go down in your starts. So you had 1,200 starts last year, and now you're at 550 for the year in new home starts. And so I kind of mentioned that before. I'm not going to go all the way through that. I did put together this slide, though, to kind of show you the difference of where you are now versus where you were a year ago. So annual starts, you're at 1,130, and now you're at 550. So you're down, a little more than half of what it was a year ago. Quarter starts also way down, about almost 300 just in the fourth quarter. Closings are actually up, but you had a lot of inventory, and so you kind of moved through that inventory. But now you're kind of getting lower on that inventory, as we saw, just on 285. You're under construction. A year ago was 753, and so that's down a little over 500 difference there too. And vacant developed lots, you're actually up from 1,058 to 1,400. And so things aren't, you are moving forward with some things there as far as lot availability moving forward. And now we're going to look at what does that mean by elementary zone. And so these are kind of some of those numbers put together to show you what elementary zones are moving the fastest. Your two biggest movers as far as annual closings go are, Clift and Simpson. Clift had 550 new home closes during the last calendar year, and Simpson had 263 home closes in that same time period. So the yellow is your number one, the green is your number two, and that rose colored is kind of your number three. But you can see that, Simpson only has about 900 futures left. And so if they continue at that same rate that they've been, about 250 or so, and they've got 470 vacant developed lots. So they've got several years left to go, but they don't have near the future lots that you see in Clift with 9,600 future lots. And then also in Wedgeworth, you've got about 9,400 future lots there as well. So here's the overview map. And when you look at the overview map, it's broken up into elementary zone, but you can see that we've highlighted some subdivisions there. The green highlighted subdivisions are active subdivisions, so there's active home building going on there. The yellow are your future subdivisions, and so those have not actually started laying down homes at this point. If that subdivision is outlined in red, that means they've got dirt work happening. So they're converting those future lots into vacant developed lots everywhere you see a red outline. And so right now you've got about 1,200 lots underway. So there's a lot of lot development going on. You've got 1,400 already now, so you're getting, in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to be up over that 2,000 lot level. And so that's going to, normally when we see a lot level, we're looking at, normally housing has been over the last several years, that's usually a 18-month to 2-year lot supply. And so let's just say that in the next 6 months you have 2,000 lots available. That usually means you're going to run anywhere from 900 to 1,100 homes that year. And that's kind of where the developers like to be in lot supply. And so that's, you do have, in your fastest growing subdivisions, you did have, that's where you got hit with some lot supply issues right towards the end of 2022. And so as they develop more of those lots, you're going to see that pick up again, we believe. All right, so we're going to look at a couple that we saw as some of the most dramatic slowdown there. So North Grove, 1,500 total there. You got only 300 futures left, and so that's getting closer and closer to the end. You got 200 vacant developed lots with 99 homes under construction. They closed 170 homes in the last 12 months, and so their starts though have dramatically decreased down to 42 starts since the third quarter of 2021. And so that one has really slowed down some, and you've got, you've only got 500 lots there total left, and so that one's going to continue to, you've still got plenty of things going on. You've got 253 lots underway, so they're just kind of taking a breath through this, through this process of figuring out what interest rates are going to do, but it's obviously that they're loading up to get right back to the pace they were about 2 years ago. All right, so then you also had Buffalo Ridge. Buffalo Ridge, 768 total lots there. You've got 366 of those in Clift and 400 of those in Felty. 52 homes under construction. They started 102 homes in the last 12 months, and so that's a decrease of about 117 homes there as well. So those are a few of those, the ones that were going pretty fast. Saddlebrook, again, they've got 1,100 futures still left out of the 1,770. 54 vacant developed lots and no homes currently under construction, so they've really hit the pause button as well. Started 64 homes in the last 12 months, and that's down about 66 since the third quarter of 21. And so you had several of your largest, those are the ones we kind of wanted to highlight, just to kind of show you what that, all hitting that pause button as we kind of figure out what's happening with the interest rates. Now the good news is the interest rates have actually kind of leveled off and have settled in under 7. We were afraid there for a little while they were going to go up to 7.5 and maybe get just under 8. And so things have gotten at least a little more stable for the next several months. So we also look at the multifamily. There are about 600 multifamily units under construction right now, 175 of which of those are seniors, senior living, and so you won't see any kids out of that one. You do have 4,000 future multifamily homes still in the plans all across the district. And you can see that the ones that are highlighted in purple there, that darker purple, those are the ones under construction, and those highlighted in that bright teal, those are the ones that are futures in the multifamily. And so the next slide shows where we thought things would be previous to this the slowdown and the interest rate change. And so when you look at, we were expecting you guys to grow another 658 kids this next year. So I just kind of wanted to show you that in contrast to where we're going to put you, where I believe you're going to be by the time enrollment rolls around next year. And so going from that 650 basically down to about 350 as the developers in those major subdivisions have really tapped the brakes and slowed down where you're going to be next year. And so I do fully expect, though, because of the lot development and because of what's happening with so many lots under development in those key areas, that you're going to go right back the next year and you're going to get back into that 650 number as those 2,000 lots come into play and those numbers start to pick back up again. And so over time, overall, it's kind of a 1 year slowdown, and really it's because of the combination of those interest rates and that supply chain that even if they were to start motoring through houses even in this first quarter, most of those aren't going to get finished in time for those kids to be enrolled in your district until after snapshot date. And so that's why we're seeing that slowdown. All right, and so looking at that by campus, Clift is still going to be up over 600 next year, and 700, hitting 700 by 25-26, and getting out to about 1,000 kids in that area in 28-29. At Northside Elementary, hitting 511 next year, hitting 536 that in 25-26, but then kind of settling right in at that 500 number. When you look at Simpson, it's at 621, hitting 664 next year, 750 in 24-25, but then getting up almost to 900 in 25-26, and then hitting over 1,000 in 28-29. And then Wedgeworth, as some of those subdivisions start to really pick up in 24-25, hitting 800, over 800, almost 850 in 25-26, and hitting 940 in 26-27, and then hitting over 1,000 the following year. At your junior highs at Coleman, you're at 838. All your junior highs are in really good shape all the way out till at least when you get into 2030 or 31, as they currently are. And then you've got at Waxahachie High School, hitting 3,150 next year, hitting 3,300 the following year, hitting over 3,500 out there in 27-28, and hitting over 4,000 students at the high school level in 29-30. And so even though we did drop you down a little bit, the growth is still coming. Like I said, you really kind of had a perfect storm there because it was your most productive subdivisions that ran into some lot issues through the end of the year. But the new starts did decline across the FW, so you weren't alone at all in that. But again, slowing down, not stopping, right? So we're not nowhere near stoppage. New home activity did decline some in 2022. We are expecting to see that pick up by the summer. And you have 39 actively building subdivisions with 1,400 lots on the ground right now, with another 2,000 another 1,200 in development. You've got 26 future subdivisions with over 23,000 future lots. So growth is nowhere near, and you're going to be growing really for the next 25 to 30 years here in Waxahachie. And so we forecast you to be at 13,500 students out in 27-28 and about 17,200 in 32-33. It was a lot of information and some of it was kind of new, so any questions?
Any questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, very well.
Thanks, Trent.
Okay, our next item will be the first review of Board Policy Update 120 with proposed changes affecting Waxahachie ISD local policies CKC, EC, FNG, and FO. With all those letters, it's got to be you, Mr. Armstrong.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. So we periodically receive updates from TASB, the Association of School Boards, to our board policy, suggested revisions to board policy. And it's very typical for us to receive one in advance of the legislative session, which is what Update 120 is. We will certainly receive another much more robust one following legislative session. This is just a cleanup from various administrative decisions, court cases, you name it, and there are only 4 local policies affected within Update 120, and this is just your first review. So you've got information in your board packet with the explanatory notes and the line item local changes, but these 4 policies, CKC local regarding emergency plans, EC local regarding school day, which is really just taking out some unnecessary language that's been rendered moot by some changes in state law. FNG local, that's one of your grievance policies. You've got 3 different grievance policies: DGBA for employees, FNG for parents and students, and GF for the public. Just a couple of changes within that policy. And FO local regarding student discipline. Nothing controversial within these proposed policies, but traditionally we don't ask you to approve these the first time you see them. So this is your first review. I'll answer any questions you might have tonight, or if you have any questions over the next 5 weeks, I'll certainly answer those with you. And our administrators have looked at these proposed policies, and I anticipate we will be back before you on March 20th recommending approval of all the changes recommended within Update 120. Do you have any questions tonight?
Anything from Mr. Alvin?
Thank
Thank you very much. Thanks, Lee. Okay, and our last report tonight will be our informational report on WISD Balanced Scorecard Priority 1A.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. We're back with Priority 1 of our Balanced Scorecard. Priority 1 is focused on student growth. Our number 1 priority in WISD is every student grow every year. Particularly academically, that is, we're going to look at 1.1 and 1.2 tonight because Priority 1 is such a big priority that we're going to split it in 2 different months reports. In fact, we kind of had a lot of what we're going to present in March already with CTE month, and so next year we'll likely flip that because it makes more sense when we get to that report. So again, we're looking at every student growing in the 4 cores, and then 1.2 is students understanding the expected standards of behavior and safety being a priority. There are key strategic actions of using multiple forms of data to measure performance, ensure fidelity of our written curriculum, ensure PLC's focus on the 4 guiding questions, and develop and sustaining walkthrough protocols. We are using multiple measures of data, including MAP assessments. We've just completed middle of the year assessments, and again, our long-term desired outcome for WISD is we'd like to be an A district by 2025. I'm now going to ask Dr. Beneker to speak specifically about our middle of the year MAP data that we just got.
All right, so this snapshot right here shows the middle of year results. Our students just completed this. They take these tests beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year. And so what you're seeing here is a combined number of tests across the different content areas that our students have taken. So our overall goal with these, and I kind of broke this next slide down. I've got a fall to fall and fall to winter, and I'm looking at grades 3 and 8 math only. So to correlate this with STAR results, what we want to do is move our students from the bottom up to the top. So we want the red and yellow numbers to get smaller, and you can see they're slowly trending that direction. We want the blue really to be the biggest number, and then the green and yellow to fall just below that. So just like we move our students from, does not meet, approaches, meets, and masters, we want to do the same thing with these MAP results. So grades 3 and 8 math, I picked those 2 because they showed the greatest levels of growth across the district. Really proud of the work that we're seeing in those classrooms. We've got a big focus with math 3 through 6 right now. So Dr. Johnson and myself, with the elementary principals and the junior high principals, have gone into those classrooms a lot over the last several months. We're working through a grant with T-Class. It's the RSSP, so the Resilient School Support Program. And we've had a big focus on our math classrooms. So I'm really impressed with the work that we're seeing happen in these math classrooms. The next area that I picked here is grades 4 and 8 reading. So again, seeing those numbers at the bottom slowly go down and the numbers at the top slowly getting bigger. So again, the focus there is, or the goal there is to increase the numbers at the top and decrease those numbers at the bottom. And this is all grades math. So again, with the focus that we've got on our math scores across the district, the math instruction is one of the biggest things that we're looking at right now. So this is all grades of math. And again, just really impressed with the work that we're seeing across the district in these math classrooms.
Okay, as a follow-up to our MAP data, we will be conducting middle of the year principal check-ins starting next week. Mrs. Mott, myself, and Dr. Beneker will be visiting every one of our campus principals will come visit with us, and they will present evidence to us that demonstrates that student growth has occurred on their campus. And they will consider the following 4 questions: evidence of growth in their campus teacher, at the campus teacher and student level, the specific strategies that have contributed to student growth, the specific evidence of areas that did not show growth and what their action steps are going to be, and then data-based predictions of their STAR scores by teacher grade level and campus. Also, part of 1.1a is our walkthrough protocols. We have established a weekly check-in with principals. We set level of commitments for a 9-week period. We set them by the week. You can see that's our count for the second 9 weeks of the fall semester. We did fall a little bit short on meeting our commitments. However, we did conduct over 553 walkthroughs across our district. And so that means principals are getting into talking to teachers. These are not just walkthroughs with a little note. These are walkthroughs with feedback with teachers. So they're getting that feedback from their principal. We believe those conversations are critical. Performance objective 1.2 of student growth is about all of our students feeling safe on campus and understanding the expectations of behavior. Our long-term desired outcomes, we would like to have an ADA of 96%. We talk about attendance just about every month. I know it's in the superintendent's report. Another thing I'd like to focus on here in a minute is we would like to not be staged in the results-driven accountability system for discipline. I'll talk about discipline infractions here in a moment. And also, one of our main goals or long-term desired outcomes is to establish a partnership with a mental health provider. We are very close to getting that done. And I also have some specific evidence on our Next Steps counseling program that you guys have helped us fund, and ESSER funds have helped us fund as well. So looking at discipline report, I know you get this monthly from Mr. Perry. This is our number of assignments, out-of-class assignments. ISS, OSS means out-of-school suspension, DAP, Disciplinary Alternative Education Program, and expulsions. We had 7 expulsions in the fall semester. And this is our out-of-school suspension and ISS assignments percent by ethnicity. What we're looking for is our goal to not be staged in RDA is a rate of below 2. Right now we're at approximately 2.5472, which is over that. And you can see specifically that's for African American discipline placements. So that's an area of focus for us. In fact, we're going to have a Region 10 consultant will be meeting with us this Thursday to talk about RDA at our principals at our principal session at DLT. Next Steps Counseling, this program is really working in our district. We can see that from September 1 to December 31st, they served 178 students. They had 224 students that referred, and we got an 85% consent rate. We have to get consent from parents before we can offer any counseling. And you can see there specifically what those concerns are. 32% of mental health, anxiety, grief and loss, family dynamics, and suicide and self-harm. There's also a graph there of the breakdown of the ethnicity of our students that are seeking this help. In this next chart, the impact in our district, one of the things that I really want to point out is we know that these students are, number one, they're at risk, but when they have these other factors, I would consider them ultra at risk, which means they're even more difficult to move. But 47% of the students that are being served, their attendance is starting to increase. 67%, their behavior is getting better, and over right at half of them, their grades are getting better. A very interesting statistic for our district is that 88% of the students that are being seen by our at-risk, our Next Steps counselors, have suffered some sort of adverse childhood experience, or an ACE, which puts us higher than the average rate for that, which is usually about, I think it's about 61%. So there's also some information there about students that suffer those ACEs, that they're more likely to have different other types of impacts on their health. And the last thing, Lieutenant Oliver really went into great detail about our threat response, but I wanted to show you this graphic. We did put this graphic together as a response to some questions about how we handle threats. And thanks to our PR team, they were able to put a brief synopsis of this is what we go through every time we have a threat. And I'm welcome to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? All right, you guys are off the hook. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, our next item on our agenda will be our consent agenda. We have items A through M. Remove any of those for individual discussion, or we could take them all in one motion.
Can I ask a question on L? Don't need to pull it, just a simple question. Is that totally covered by grant funds?
That's a consideration of possible approval of air filtration devices.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Told you, simple.
Anyone else?
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Schofield, second by Mr. Rogers. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Moving into our action item A, consideration to approve the 2023-2024 WISD school calendar.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. I'm here to present a proposed calendar for the 23-24 school year. A reminder about how the calendar was developed this year. We used the same process that we used last year. So on January 11th, I met with the DEIC committee and I brought to them 3 different calendar options. They broke into groups of about 4 or 5 people, and for each of those calendar options, they developed 2 stars, so 2 things they really liked about that calendar, and 1 wish that they would like to see different in that calendar. And I also had them do a vote of which of the 3 that they were leaning most toward. Overwhelmingly, the committee chose option 3 as the one they were leaning most toward. So after the conclusion of that meeting on January 11th, I took calendar option 3 and I looked at all the wishes. There were about 8 different wishes, 1 from each of the groups, and I tried to accommodate all those wishes that I could. Of course, we have to stay within 187 contract day for teachers, and we have a minimum of 75,600 minutes for students. We need to meet those 2 things. So I took calendar option 3, ramped it up with all those wishes that I could get. I got about 6 of 8 of them that I could put into that calendar. Sometimes they conflict and I couldn't get everything in there, but I got most of them in there. So then during the period of January 12th through February the 6th, the DEIC committee members were to go back to their campus, work with their campus principal to present that calendar 3+ option to their campus and get feedback. And we compile all that feedback onto one Google form. And so then we met again on February the 7th, and the DIC committee, it was a smaller group this time because we had to reschedule from the ice storm, but I still had a really good group show up that night. And we met, went through all of the feedback. They broke into small groups again, went through all the feedback, and I had them prioritize that feedback. How many times did we see that comment from campuses? Was it just one time and it's an outlier, or was it a continual, like we saw at several, 4 or 5, 6 campuses made that comment? So the committee that night, I really have to compliment them. They were outstanding. They were very collaborative in nature. They talked a lot in the meeting about this is how this affects secondary, but elementary, how does this kind of change affect you? And I just have to give them lots of compliments. It was a great meeting. We were able to edit that calendar live that evening because everyone was so respectful of the different levels, and they came up with some really good ideas. So I'm presenting this calendar to you this evening, and just to go through some of the highlights. The first day for teachers would be on August 2nd, and that's the convocation date. Students would return to school on August the 10th, and that is a Thursday, and that is a crowd pleaser for the most part. They like to start on Thursday. Homecoming is paired with parent-teacher conferences again on October the 6th, and then the fair day for everyone is on October 9th, so that gives a little bit of a 4-day weekend there for students. It is an early out for Christmas break on December 15th, and teachers would return then on January 3rd for 2 work days. Oh, I'm sorry. For 2 work days, one of those would, and then one of them would be an I-Nation Day. So it's a work day, I-Nation Day, work day, which was what the committee overwhelmingly asked for. And then students would return on January the 8th on this calendar. There is a potential for a 4-day weekend at Easter. Easter is early next year, and so they'd have Good Friday, which is March 29th, and then April the 1st is potentially a holiday for students and staff. It is also marked as a bad weather day, just in case. There is an early release day on May 23rd. That's Global's graduation, and WHS would graduate on May 24th. There are teacher work days after Memorial Day there on May 28th, and then on the 29th, that is a work day, but we also coded that blue as an exchange day, which just means that they could exchange time in the summer for that last teacher work day there. A lot of our teachers get GT hours or AP hours in the summer, and that's off-contract time. And there are several other trainings they may attend at the Region 10 Roadshow or something like that, that we would exchange that for them, and then they would have the 29th off if they collected PD hours from the summer. We also have things like book studies going on through the year that they can conduct hours through as well. We'll be working with Dr. Vineker and his staff to set up all sorts of opportunities for teachers and staff to earn that time for that exchange day, so they can trade hours and get out on the 28th instead of the 29th. This calendar has 77,250 minutes in it. That is a surplus of 1,650 minutes. It's about 3.6 days. Just to give you an idea, last year's calendar, or this current year's calendar has 5.2 days built in. We used 3.2 last week. So it would be cutting it a little closer, but we still have 2 bad weather days built into the calendar that if we had to use them, they would be available. Can I answer any questions about the proposed calendar?
Looking at it, it looks like a good calendar. My only concern is there's no breaks after April the 1st, but that's my only.
Correct. So on the original option 3 that I had, students were coming back after Memorial Day to add in some more breaks like that area you're talking about, and the campus feedback was overwhelmingly, don't bring students back after Memorial Day. So the only way for me to accomplish that was to take those breaks out in February. April is a tough month to have breaks in because we're preparing and ramping up for STAR. There was a break in there, and they asked me to take that out because they said it's just too much of a STAR prep time.
Okay, thank you. I just noticed that.
I agree. It will be a long grind, Ms.
It's going to be a long month for them, 2 months.
It's tough.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Do you find, I'm just wondering, are most districts building in minutes like that so that we don't have to make up days, or is it just kind of all over?
Well,
I was just
interesting
curious.
enough, Mr. Calden told me the other day that he read a bulletin from TEA that they don't even require you to build in those 2 days anymore because the expectation is that you build enough minutes into your calendar to handle any kind of bad weather issue. I kind of like to go with both ways. I want to build in some days, but I don't want to build in too many because the feedback from the committee is don't build in, 6 days. But I think we're good here with 3.2 built in and then the 2 bad weather days up there that we could use if we needed to.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to say thank you, Mrs. Mott, for your leadership through the process. DEIC did a good job. I know Ms. Starnader serves on that DEIC committee. There are so many things that are sacred cows and requirements and when we got to start and when we got to finish. It's a big task, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve action item A as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McCutcheon, second by Ms. Timmerman. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Next item will be consideration and action to approve a resolution to pay staff during an emergency closure beginning January 31st, 2023, continuing through the first 2 hours of February 3rd, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. President and Board and Dr. Hollingsworth. And this is very timely on the heels of Mrs. Mott's discussion with you all. This time last year, you approved a school calendar which had banked minutes, had 5+ school days of banked instructional minutes. And so, when we lost school days on January 31st and February 1st and February 2nd and the first 2 hours of February 3rd, we don't need to make up that time. 3 days plus 2 hours, we have more than enough instructional minutes for our students. We will not need to make up those school days. However, your employees on 10-month schedules, 11-month schedules, 12-month schedules have those days in their regular schedule, and absent a resolution, we would need to bring those employees back on a Saturday or holiday, and we are urging that the board approve a resolution tonight to not require those days to be made up by employees. Ultimately, the district's budget has no adverse effect by approving this resolution, and in fact, gains a savings in that we don't, if this resolution is approved, won't have to electrify our buildings on a Saturday or a holiday to bring employees. We believe we can sufficiently get the work done that needs to be done for our students without the need of bringing employees back on a holiday or weekend. And we do believe that this is a benefit to employees that serves a public purpose to help us keep morale high and help us retain our employees. So we urge approval tonight for a resolution to pay our employees for the 3 days we were closed.
Questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item B as presented by Mr. Alvin.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Kriegel. Second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Me again.
Okay, so the consideration with possible action to accept the donation of 3 vehicles from the city of Waxahachie, which were formerly used as police vehicles.
This is a very neat opportunity for the school district and most of our community, our stakeholders, our parents, are likely very familiar with seeing a police car at our secondary campuses where we have SRO officers. We have 3 vehicles, 2014 Chevrolet Caprice police cruisers that have been parked outside of our campuses. The Waxahachie Police Department is upgrading its vehicles for the SRO officers that are assigned to our campuses and does not need those vehicles returned to their fleet. The vehicles run, they're roadworthy, and we can use them for our security officers that might need to occasionally get from one campus to another or a game. It'll be very useful for the school district. Our security team, when Dr. Hollingsworth had staff meetings with all of our various departments, our security officers asked, is there a way that the school district could get us a couple vehicles?
That's true.
Thanks to our friends, Waxahachie Police Department, we're getting 3 vehicles that will all serve us very well. So we're excited about this opportunity, but we can't just unilaterally as administration accept the gift. We need the board's approval to accept this gift, this donation from the city of Waxahachie, these 3 vehicles that will be put immediately into the WISD security force.
Questions? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve action item D as presented by Mr. Alvin. So moved. Motion by Ms. Timmerman.
Second.
Second by Ms. Starnader. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next item will be consideration with possible action to approve a resolution adopting Waxahachie ISD's long-range plan to accommodate the enrollment of more than 17,000 students as recommended by the WISD Long Range Planning Committee.
Mr. President, Mrs. Red is passing out to you a finalized version. There were a couple of minor changes that were made by Mr. Alvin, and so I wanted to share that with y'all. And This is a very exciting action item because it reflects a lot of great work on the part of the members of our long-range planning committee. And what this does is it will make our long-range planning committee our district's plan instead of just our long-range planning committee's plan. And so I'm very pleased to bring that to you for your consideration tonight.
Questions for Dr. Hollingsworth? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve action item E.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McCutcheon. I'm sorry, action item D, action item D. So, motion by Mr. McCutcheon. Second by Mr. Schofield. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay, action item E, consideration and possible action to adopt the order of calling for a bond election and take all necessary action thereof, authorizing the administration to execute the necessary documents on behalf of Waxahachie Independent School District.
All right, Mr. President and Board, as you know, we have gone through a considerable lengthy process to land where we are today with this recommendation for the following bond propositions. And I want to just, I want to say thank you to our community members, those who took part in that extensive long-range planning process that began last spring, went throughout this last fall. I want to say thank you to our team who have done a tremendous job, our administrative team, in preparing to bring us to this place. And I want to say thank you to the board. As y'all know, you've gone through a lot of work in 3 consecutive bond workshops. And I'm really grateful for all of you for your willingness to come together for this purpose. And so you have 4 bond propositions. Proposition A for educational facilities to include Neighborhood Elementary number 10, a new Wildman STEAM Academy, Neighborhood Elementary number 11, the expansion of the Hancock Building to house Coleman Junior High, the expansion of Findlay Junior High, and the expansion of Howard Junior High, as well as land for future school sites in Proposition A. Proposition B for the construction of Comprehensive High School number 2. Proposition C for facility upgrades throughout our district. And Proposition D for athletic improvements at Waxahachie High School. So we're very pleased to bring these propositions to the board.
Questions for Dr. Hollingsworth? Board, I know we spent a tremendous amount of time putting this together. This is the accumulation of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for a lot of people involved in our district. So at this time, I will entertain a motion for action item E.
I move to approve the order calling a bond election in the amount of $192,284,113 for Proposition A, $322,072,031 for Proposition B, $60,689,843 for Proposition C, and $19,950,000 for Proposition D.
A motion by Mrs. Timmerman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. McCutcheon. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. And our last action item is consideration and possible action to order an election of Board of Trustees, places 1 and 2 for the Waxahachie Independent School District. Who's taking that one tonight?
Any discussion? Mr. President, we bring to you just this action item for the purpose of calling a Board of Trustee election for places 1 and 2 to take place in May.
Any questions?
I have a question. Is that also going to be the only places that the bond election is offered? I mean, voting on the propositions, or are we going to be
No,
multiple sites on that?
we don't know yet where all the election county elections office will be doing their elections. We do know that wherever you allow early voting, it must be all 2 weeks, every day. The elections office no longer allows you to do one location one day and another location another day. Any location that you offer to the elections office, you must offer it for the whole time. And so the only facility that WISD is offering to the elections office is this building, the administration building. So no campuses will be adversely affected during the course of early voting. And then on Saturday, the election day, that first Saturday in May, it'll be at the traditional location in Marvin. There will be other locations within the county, and truly, if you live in Waxahachie ISD, you'll be able to vote at any of the early voting locations available within Ellis County. You could be in Midlothian and go to an Ellis County early voting site in Midlothian and vote there. When you give them your driver's license, they find your address in Waxahachie. They'll be able to they'll give you your ballot that'll have, if you live in the city, the city council election, and if you live in the school district, the bond election and trustee election.
Okay, that's what I was referring to. Thank you, Dr. Arvinshaw.
Any other questions? Okay, I entertain a motion to approve action item F as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rogers,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Kriegel. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. And item 9 would be comments from individual board members. Anyone want to volunteer to go first? Good, Ms. Timmerman.
I would like to say thank you to two groups. One, our counselors, since this is counselor month. What they do is so important to all of our students, and thank you for that. I also want to thank all of our staff that work with our UIL competitions. They give up so much of their time, not only during school, but weekends, so I want to say thank you to them.
Next.
I want to say that all the recognitions tonight were wonderful, but I wanted to comment specifically about our CTE department. It seems like when I was in school, we had cosmetology, we had ag, and we had a couple of shop classes. Now it's evolved into 21 programs and 88 courses. That's phenomenal. And so good job to our CTE department and Mrs. Treat, and keep it up. Keep up the good work.
I've got two. One is a alumni of WHS who, y'all may have seen this on social media, but Paul Box has recently finished 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents, which is unbelievable. I don't know how he does that. But and then my second one is our football coach, Coach Tollison. He received a couple of awards lately. One is the Texas High School Coaches Association Coach of the Year, and also an NAACP Torchbearer Award for his work in the community and with the students. And it's pretty awesome to have him here and see the program that he's running.
Next.
I'll go.
Good.
I just wanted to reiterate my thanks to all the staff who worked hard during the freeze. Was that last week? No, the week before last, right? Yeah. Anyway, I know some of us got a day off, but I know we had a lot of staff that still had to work to make sure that everything was taken care of, and so we appreciate those folks. And also regarding the action item to call for the bond election, that was, yes, ditto what everybody else said. Tons of work went into that, and I just want the community to know that I, for one, do not take this lightly, and I'm appreciative of everybody's hard work.
Next.
Guess I'm next, huh?
You or Ms. Kriegel? Or myself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Ms. Greer. I just want to say thanks to the Long Range Planning Committee. Those guys spend a lot of time on that. They don't get rewarded for it. There's nothing there but service to their community as they try to wade through all that demographic data and figure out a direction for us to go. And also, like Ms. Starnader said, it's a lot of money, but we're growing. If you don't believe it, look around. I'll leave it at that.
I wanted to take my opportunity to thank basically, and everybody knows that I appreciate the teachers and the administrators, but I want to thank the glue that holds us all together. That would be the cafeteria workers, the janitors, the maintenance workers, the bus drivers, security, the office work staff, technology. I think that's basically everybody. If I missed somebody, I'm really sorry. But y'all don't always get recognized. I know the state's talking about how much they're going to raise teacher pay or whatever. But they don't ever realize, they don't take the time to realize that without all of the other staff, this place wouldn't run. So I wanted to thank you for that.
All right, well, I'm going to take a little different approach tonight. Today, I was reading an obituary of a man that was about 95 years old that passed away in our community. And upon reading his obituary, I've known this man pretty much my whole life. I had no idea he served on 2 school boards. He served on the Forston Independent School District, which we later absorbed, and he later served, I believe, 3 terms on the Waxahachie Independent School District. I just want to send my condolences out to Leland Calvert's family and just let them know that he's the kind of guy that paved the way for the 7 of us to sit up here and do what we're doing. So that's where I'm going to close this with tonight. And at that time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Schofield, second by Mr. Rogers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.